Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with New York City musician, independent recording artist, Benjy Bradshaw, who will be at the Glam Awards on Monday, being nominated for Best Video Love is Love, the 69 mix. He'll be performing at Eros on February 11th and is coming out with a single, Incantation, on February 6th. Benjy, how you doing today, girl?
Hey, baby, good to see you. How are
So
you?
obvious. Thank you. So glad to have you here with me today. So obviously you have a lot going on now, but let's go back in time a little bit. Have you always lived in New York City, or are you someone who just moved there to kind of escape the terror of the place that you lived before?
Yeah, I grew up in California. I grew up in the Bay Area, Northern California, and I was lucky. My childhood was lucky. I wasn't really bullied, but just New York, I always wanted to come here. So, yeah, I started in California.
Wow. I will say that. Wow.
Yeah.
I get wanting to be in New York again. As fans of this podcast know, I'm on the East Coast myself. I could never get used to that. West Coast is something I don't ever want to do.
Really?
No, if I were to move somewhere, like in terms of a big city other than like Atlanta, it'd be New York for me.
Mm. Yeah.
So were you extremely flamboyant growing up? Was it like sort of were you flamboyant growing up?
Pretty much, yes. I always like for Halloween, I'm sure a lot of us have had this with Halloween. Like I would dress up. Like that's the one day I could dress up, and it's like it's okay to dress up because it's just Halloween.
Right.
So like I think as a kid, like Halloweens were crazy. Like my Halloweens, I would go all the way out. Like one year I was Judge Judy for Halloween, and like I had the wig, the lipstick, like so I mean, that was like my signs. But I was definitely still very shy. So I wouldn't say I was totally flamboyant in that way. I was more like funny. Like I'd just be really like out of the box, like funny and like entertainer kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't dress up that much. I wouldn't like do all that kind of thing. So I think it was more like me expressing myself just through my personality being like really loud and crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally get that. Like, I remember the fact of when I finally did come out to my sister, like, it was at a point where I was like, I think I was 20 at the time. I'd come out as bi before, and then, like,
Mm.
all of a sudden I was going to a Cher concert, and my sister just said, just admit that you're gay. You're going to Cher. Come on. Like,
Your
I'm
mom
like,
said
fine.
that?
My sister. I'm like, fine.
Oh, your
You're right.
sister.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
The siblings, I
So,
feel like no. Yeah.
yeah. So, obviously, New York musician. What inspired you to get into music?
So basically, my dad was experimental sound, or still is experimental sound artist, and my mom is really into musicals and um, music in general. So I think growing up in that, like seeing them with music, always
Yeah.
inspired me. And so when I saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like the movie version, it inspired me to like don't dream it, be it, and to dress up. And like that whole movie has the fashion, the visuals, but also this music is amazing, I think.
Definitely.
So seeing all that, and then on top of that, going to the theater and seeing it with the audience, like throwing popcorn and like getting involved with it, I was just like, this is cool. I didn't even know I wanted to do this. I was just like, I like this, what's happening here. So that kind of inspired me. And so my dad had bought me a guitar and a synthesizer. So in my childhood bedroom, I would just start working on music organically without any training. And that's kind of how it started. And I was just like, I want to create these moments of like magical and just self expression. And so I kind of just went with that. and really it just over time developed,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, here's my next question. So, obviously, I was listening to your music, trying to get into this interview, like hearing stuff and just liking what you do. But I will say a lot of your stuff is very much club based and electronic based. So, even with those sounds, have you ever wanted to go deeper when writing music, but you were afraid that your fans wouldn't like that?
Mm. I mean, I think it's interesting you say that. I think my fans and people want to hear, they're at the point where they want to hear my story. I think
Yeah.
they love the fun stuff, and like I love the fun stuff. But I think I'm been hearing feedback of people being like, okay, we're ready for your first album. Like, tell us, who is Benjy Bradshaw? What made you Benjy Bradshaw? And so that's where I'm at, is like getting to that point of like real getting ready to share that story in a musical way. And I actually was intending to start my career with that album, which was going to be like an autobiography of how I got here.
Yeah.
But I decided that the other music, the house music and techno and stuff, started coming to me, and I was like, I don't want to stop that and just switch gears. I want to, like, that opportunity is amazing, and I love those people I'm collaborating with. So I think I'm at a point where it's like I'm still going to do the dance music, and I love that stuff so much and all the collaborations, but just continue kind of like interject my story in there as well, so that people are starting to see like it's just not for fun. It's like he's really expressing himself, telling us his life and his journey into
Yeah.
music.
I mean, you could probably still do electronic music and express your story. I will say this, be very careful. One of the reasons I started this podcast was because I was telling those deeper stories that you're wanting to tell, but
Mm,
I kept on getting misinterpreted by people about the message that I was saying.
really?
So I'm trying to write
Yeah.
music and you're not getting it. I'm like, let me get on a fucking microphone and just talk, because clearly someone would see like a shocking title that I would choose just because that's what I thought the title of the song was. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, "Oh, you're saying this." Like,
Oh,
one of those things I could just go into an example about
yeah.
that is this song I wrote called "Kill Your Mother," and it was basically a song where I was talking about sort of killing the like very conservative side of my mother, because it was something where like when I came out, I was afraid to come out because
Mhm.
like in fact I didn't come out till after my mom died because I was afraid
Mhm.
that she wouldn't accept me for who I was.
Mhm.
So it was like I did that, and my sister was like saying, she's like, "Oh, that sounds so bad that you named this song 'Kill Your Mother.' It seems so like," and I'm like, if you listen to the lyrics, like if you see the lyrics that I like literally put on the like bio part of the song, it's
Mhm.
not me like saying to go out and kill your parents. It's not the message I'm trying to like put out.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of times you don't want to have that like evil sort of part of your life because it does make you scared to be who you are.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's really powerful what you just said, because I think a lot of us go through that. I know I experienced that amount. Well, in terms of, I'm just mean the life experience, but also what you're saying about the song. But
Yeah.
in terms of the life experience, what you're saying about, our a lot of us growing up, it's to come out, like people don't realize it could be a life, like it's a weight you're holding sometimes. It's a weight you're holding, and like the people around you, even the people that you love the most or that love you the most, you're still afraid to tell them, and people don't understand that. And I think what you're saying through music is you're trying to express yourself. Like, this is how I felt, and I didn't mean this. I'm saying it as an artistic way. This is,
Yeah.
and I people, it's annoying. People don't understand that. And I think they, with anything, when we do art and creativity and put it out, people just love to jump to whatever makes sense to them. And often it's like from a place of judgment or, not understanding. And so I'm sorry that you had to experience that.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Like sometimes your song, you need to say it in this way, and you don't mean literally people do this. It's like I'm expressing like a feeling I had that doesn't had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, you're expressing the like you don't want to kill the person, you want to kill the
No.
like sentiment that
Yeah.
they're trying to like put into you through, I would say this definitely the way Republicans are now, and even as we can see, not trying to get too political, but it's like
Okay.
indoctrination. Like
Right.
that's what they do. That's why so many of them I feel just get like zombies to where they just all go towards Donald Trump and like that's what they're leaning towards, that sort of like vicious vengeance way of
Mhm.
doing things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Like,
So
understanding.
yeah. So as I said, you're an independent artist. Are you looking to stay an independent artist, or are you looking to like hopefully get onto a major label at some point?
So yeah, I really love being independent for a lot of reasons, but if the right label came to me and had the right, like everything felt lined up and right, then I would
Yeah.
totally do it. I work with labels like with my personal singles and stuff. Like the Incantation song is on a label, so I mean I do work with labels on certain tracks. So I have no problem with that, and I like meeting these labels are amazing because they're I meet the actual heads of them and they're the creators. So like Incantation is a perfect example of that. um and collaborating. But yeah, I mean, for my own personal career, like if there was a label that I felt it would represent me well and is respectful about the things that I care about, I mean, then I would totally, there's a lot of benefits to a label in terms of exposure and the amount of
Yeah.
creativity, so I'm not against them. It's just that it would have to be the right fit.
Yeah, but also there are downsides to labels because a
Right.
lot of them want to like take your masters and like essentially it doesn't matter if like you wrote the song, you're a producer, they're trying to take it and like hold on to it.
Exactly.
So you can't go anywhere. So I can understand not wanting to be on
Yeah.
a major label, but definitely you're talking about like if you were, depending on how big you got, they would be flying you to all of these interviews out in LA. They'd be like trying to get you on morning talk shows, evening talk shows, and all this. But
Right.
at some point, there is sort of a freedom in like being independent and like keeping
Oh,
yourself.
oh yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I love it. Like the freedom I have, like the creativity. I mean, there's no limit. So for me, independent has been amazing, and I fully intend to stay that way as long as I can, because it's like I have full control. Everything I put out, I can say yes, I'm loving it. I want it out, and even can control the date it launches for the most part. So I mean that in itself is already a powerful thing, to be able to control your career and to really, like, you could change creatively, you could change within a next day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I could do something totally different, and no one's gonna be like, "Oh my god, how could you do that? Like, you have to fit this mold." And so yeah, I love it. The independent life is amazing.
Definitely. So obviously, you collaborate with a lot of artists. What is it like collaborating with different artists?
Amazing. I love it. I totally am so lucky and fortunate to have met amazing collaborators. A lot of, actually, on Twitch. Twitch has become a family. It's, I've during the pandemic I came on here, and every person I've met has been absolutely incredible. And collaborating with these people is amazing because they all have different musical backgrounds. A lot of
Yeah.
it is house and dance, but it's like some are more soulful, some are more techno, some are more melodic and things like that. So to meet these people that are like total strangers around the world and to make music is such a beautiful thing, and I can't wait to continue to do that and make more.
Totally.
Totally.
So, you're good.
Sorry.
So obviously, New York musician. So, what was life like in New York before and after the pandemic?
So yeah, it's been crazy. So I was just thinking about that yesterday because I went to Brooklyn, which is different borough in New York City, and I remembered before the pandemic some places I went to, and I think the biggest change in New York, from my perspective, is that there was something about New York pre-pandemic where there was a party everywhere, and it was always like you just walk into a party, and it was like a daytime party, nighttime party, didn't matter, it just felt like that. I can't explain it beyond just saying it. There was a party everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like since the pandemic, especially during 2020, once the city was shut down, I said shitty, the
Yeah.
city was shut down.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing was open, and so that was depressing. And New York, the high rises here, it's like tall buildings. So if you don't have that fun aspect, it can be depressing because it's like a bunch of concrete. So I feel like although there are parties still, of course, and shout out to everyone in nightlife and doing parties and stuff, because I perform at them too. So it's not like they've gone away. They're still freaking amazing. It's just like that feeling of like just that excitement, I think, of like constantly having a party option. I think that just doesn't feel like that. I feel like I have to plan now if I'm going to go do something. That's kind of like, okay, where are we going? But like yesterday, I surprised myself because I went out to Brooklyn, like I said, and I was walking the streets and there were parties happening. So I'm like, okay, it's still here. It's just I need to get over that now, like that I've been in a shell for 2020. I need to like realize that things have opened, like things are happening.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking of New York. I remember seeing on the news, crazily enough, you're talking about things were shut down. There were people who were partying during the pandemic too, and it's like you saw them no masks. They were just shoving people into like things, and it's like, as someone who pretty much stopped performing post pandemic, because pre-pandemic I was like out performing once a week. I was out in West Palm Beach, like performing, and I performed pretty much till things were shut down. Like being in Florida, there was like when someone flew into Palm Beach International and there were like a bunch of cases of COVID, that's when they finally shut everything down. So I was performing pretty much till everything shut down, but I was still having to go out every day because a lot of people were sitting at home. I was working in a senior living home. So like I had to work through the pandemic. So that's when people say, oh, it sucks being at home. I'm like, you should be fucking lucky, bitch. I would love to be sitting at home doing nothing. Like,
right. Wow.
Yeah.
So when did the shutdown happen for that?
I would say, I would say March.
Yeah.
And it was literally like towards the end of March. It was like they flew everybody in. I got that like COVID thing happened. I did one more performance and then that was it. Everything was shut down right after that. And while during COVID, in fact, actually through like a freak electrical accident, the place I used to perform at every week burned down.
Oh no.
So like, and they haven't been able to in the past 3 years, like do much in terms of rebuilding it. So
oh no.
Yeah. But I will say I did probably like, I'm thankful for the pandemic because I probably wouldn't have started this podcast if it had not been for the pandemic. Because like probably what was it? It was like 2 years later. I wasn't finding places to perform. I was performing in certain contests and not winning. Like,
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, maybe performing, and it's also like, it's very easy to be in New York and you can like get on a subway and like go anywhere.
Right.
Whereas like I got to get in a
Right.
car, drive an hour to like
Mhm.
go perform somewhere, and it's just I'm like it's not worth it. Like
Totally.
I would love to like once I finally move out of Florida, probably like I'm hoping to move to Atlanta within like the next year.
Oh.
Like, yeah, been saving up money trying to like make that work. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I would love to because it's like, as I was talking to you before, will allow me the like flexibility to be able to like schedule interviews whenever I can. Like, not
Right.
just have to be like, because I know like I'm an early riser, but not everybody is. I try and tell them like 9:30, and they're on in California. It's like all of a sudden it's like you gotta tell them to wake up at 7 a.m. and like be
Right.
sort of like bright and bubbly. Not everyone. Well, actually, I'd say not everyone. I'm not either. Like, I am. I am the bitch who's like, if I don't get caffeine in my system, do not talk to me. Like,
Yes, amen.
yeah.
I love caffeine. But yeah, no, it's seriously, I'm like, cheers, caffeine time. Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, really quickly, is that yeah, I feel the same in terms of the pandemic. That I hate saying this too. There's horrible things that happen. I had friends pass away from COVID. I mean, it was
Sorry,
horrible. Thank you, honey. Yeah, rest in peace. But the beautiful thing was, what for the ones that lived through it, is the creativity. I think that's, I mean, because Twitch became my home after during the pandemic, because I was locked inside. And so if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met all these amazing artists that I'm collaborating with now. And so in that way, it was a beautiful thing through the darkness. So I definitely feel the same in terms of like that I grew a lot through that time.
Yeah, and I will say, like, Twitch, I'm so grateful. I mean, I'm fairly new. Like, I'm on like the second season of this podcast, but the first season, it was literally the audio only, but I was still like getting dressed up in a leotard, like putting the wig on, like doing all that, taking pictures, and then recording an audio podcast. And some people probably looked at me like I was fucking crazy. Like, you're getting ready and nobody's seeing you. Like,
Mhm.
but I will say, at least for all this, I know there are plenty of drag queens who just get in there or wear normal clothes and all this stuff. But for me, until I put all this on and like get in front of a microphone, I'm not on.
Right.
Like, that's why when people say, like, especially I know this for most performers, people say like, you're so shy and quiet. I'm like, well, I'm not on microphone, bitch. I'm not supposed, like,
Right.
the crazy people who are like lively all the time. God, I would hate to have to like be that all the time and be like,
Right.
I can't do it.
Right.
Like, God bless the people who do, but like,
Right.
not me.
Totally.
I don't know. Is that kind of like you too, or you?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because like I'm definitely an energizer person. Like, I'm always like, when I'm with people, I'm always like, "Yay, woo, how are you?" Like,
Yeah,
I'm just that person. But it's like, in terms of like the outfit and the makeup, like if I'm not gonna go on camera without makeup, like I'm not, like, I would never. I mean, maybe once I've done that, but I had sunglasses. Like, I would not show myself if I'm not done up. So like that, and that element, like that is true for me.
yeah,
But in terms of the day to day, I mean, I definitely have a lot of energy, and so but I love coffee. I need coffee every
yeah,
day. And the performing days suck because when I sing, it's not good for my voice to like have coffee. So I try to do tea those days, and it's always annoying because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, but it'll help a little bit. But you know, but I'm pretty. But I know what you're saying. Like, I don't. I prefer to have control over like when I'm going to be seen and what energy level I'm giving based
yeah.
on like what I have to offer at that time. So I totally feel you.
So actually, with that, I just thought of a question. So,
Ooh,
would you ever like do reality TV or like
interesting. That's a question. No one's ever asked me that question. A good one. So I'm so my gut says no. I don't think I ever would. I think it's a lot. And the only reason the two I guess there's two reasons. First off is I feel like no matter what you do, you could be misrepresented. And I feel like
yeah,
either in a positive or a negative. And I'm afraid of that. I'm like, I don't want that the editing can control what people think of me. And the other thing is I feel like it's once you do that, I feel like you know, by the way, there's nothing wrong with it. I want to say that first because I have friends that did
yeah,
reality TV and they continue to do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I actually think it's an amazing platform to meet to have the world introduced to you. So it's actually that's why it's hard to answer and say 100% no because it is a
yeah,
platform and a lot of not only queens but like just people like Real Housewives that like went on to have
yeah,
brand like the Kardashians like have a whole their empire, you know, ever since they had that show that shows them off. So I don't bash it, but I feel like for me, I would be mainly worried about the editing. And the second thing that I was going to say was just I don't know. I feel like I would love to be able to build myself through the people and the communities that I'm a part of and like and tour that way and to make my music that way.
yeah,
Um but again, there's nothing wrong with that because I think once you're on the reality show, your audience grows right away. So I
yeah.
think it is a beautiful thing.
Well, you sound like kind of the way I would do it. Like I think about reality TV and like I don't think I would do it, but like it sounds like you might be down to like do a docu series where you could like control the way that you
Yes.
are edited, and like I would do the same thing, like because then you have full control. It's not like um going on RuPaul's Drag Race, which so many
Right.
people do. I love the idea. I'm nowhere near the queen that like could do it.
I mean,
Because one
yeah.
reason I'm wearing sunglasses is because you know how to do eyes, bitch. I don't. Like,
Oh, right.
yeah,
Well, who cares, honey? You look fabulous, and I
yeah,
love the
thank
look. It's iconic. Like, because I see your posts, it's like you know it's you because the sunglasses and the hair. It's like
yeah.
this is Prince Electro Diamond people. Okay,
And it also allows me like anonymity,
right.
where like I can take everything off and excluding probably like if you looked really closely, you could probably say, "Oh, that's Prince Electro Diamond." But there have been times I've in fact like people have seen me in drag for like 3 4 years. I go up to the first time, I recognize them. They're like they have to hear me talk a little bit to realize like, oh hey, that's you. Like I had
Right.
somebody do that one time. They're like, I didn't recognize you. I'm like, well maybe I do look really different.
Yeah, I was actually wondering. I was like, I can't. I don't know what you look like without the beat and the wigs. I mean, I recognize you from like Twitter and stuff, like how
Yeah,
you look right now. So I don't think I could recognize you, which is I love that by the way. I love that, and you know the way you can kind of hide behind, you know, in terms of public
yeah.
facing, you can put on this persona. I think that's really cool.
But I will say like the way people have described it is it's in some ways somebody's described it to me one time as armor, which
Mm.
I feel like in some ways that's good, but in other ways it's like kind of bad because
Mm.
then you're afraid that you're like guarding people from like hearing your message, and that's
Mm.
never something I wanted to do. I wanted to like let people in.
Right. Well, you know what? Who cares? My whole thing is like, if you do what makes you happy and do it for you, the people are going to always say what they want to say and say, "Oh, you're not giving enough," or "Oh, you're trying to hide," or "You're, you know, not showing the real you." And it's like, no, this is how I identify. This makes me happy. Like
Yeah,
I like what I'm putting out, and like that's your opinion, and that's not my business. Like you're what you say of me is not none of my business. So, but yeah, I think you should just keep going, baby. You're fierce.
thank you.
Yes.
Because even with like the makeup and how you do things, you probably get the same people who are it's like well, bitch, that ain't the real you. I want to see the real you. And
Right. Right. And people,
it's like I'm trying to tell you, like, just
yeah, this is me,
listen.
honeys. Like it's yeah, people do that, and it's like for me because I like you see, yeah, I don't really. I did wear a wig in the beginning, but I kind of stopped. It's just wigs are a lot of work, I have to say. But
Yes.
so yeah, I mean they're cool in a lot of ways too because you can transform, like you said early. We were talking earlier about transformation, and I love
Yeah.
transformation. So maybe I'll do wigs more later, but because I don't do that, like you said, this is like my skin and my, it's just makeup and my real hair. So
Yeah.
people will be like, oh, like, hey, you look really handsome as a guy. You should do more of that, or handsome without the makeup. And I'm just like, that's great, but like, I don't feel red. I don't feel like that's me, and I will do it. I don't wear this all the time, but when I go to a
Yeah.
club or an event, like I'm going to give you who I want to express. And I feel like without this, I don't feel like that is authentically me. It doesn't. And if you don't like that, that's too bad. Like, this is me dressing up, and you can meet me and I'll be in no makeup too. So it's like I'm both.
And it's easily like you can try as much as you want, but like when people say don't see the real me, it'd be like, bitch, come back and talk to me in an hour. This will all like sweat off, and you'll see the real me.
Right. I'm here.
Yeah. But anyway, I will say your look, fabulous, amazing. Have you ever seen like a look that you've done that like somebody bigger has done and they haven't given you the credit for it? Like it was something original, and you see, like, hey, like I started that.
So that's so funny. I feel like the internet now, it's so hard because there's like, on one hand, there's like people that are on the same wavelength. There's like literally people that are like, they get what you're doing and they're creating the exact same thing. It's just I don't know you exist, but like,
Yeah.
so I've seen up stuff like that where I'm like, oh my god. For example, I performed on Facebook Live before the pandemic. This is before Twitch. I mean, Twitch probably was existing, but I didn't know about it. But
Yeah.
I did a Facebook Live bedroom performance in a box. Like I made a box that just fits my head, and I performed my music in a box. Like, and I had my hand come through the box and my head. So I like used that, and I haven't seen someone do a box, but like similar type things when the pandemic hit. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you stole it. But I'm like, no, if you're locked in a room and you have a camera and you're doing a performance, you're going to have to get creative. So I haven't seen anything flat out, you know, copy. I think, one day if I see it, I'll just definitely be like, oh my God, thank you. Um, unless they're ripping off something like musically or something. But
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say unless it's like a flat out, like really obvious copy.
Because I will say this, like, looking at your look, and you might know this reference, you might not. I very much got like Party Monster vibes from
Right.
like looking at you, and I'm like, yes, like that's sort of like I love that kind of look.
Thank you, honey.
You're
Well,
welcome.
yeah, I mean, the thing is that, and I'm really glad you brought that up because I'm basically a collection of references. Like I'm essentially like the club kid. I'm also the fashion diva. I'm also like the street kid. Like I'm also referencing things, so I don't get mad when if someone were to reference me, I'm like, thank you, because like I'm also referencing other time, like the 80s, 70s.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm also, I don't want to say guilty. I'm just also a referencing person. I enjoy seeing creativity through all the generations. So, I definitely reference as well, and I wear things, that bring me like a vibe that I'm like, okay, this reminds me of this generation and this era, and that's how I identify right now. So I'm gonna do it this way. So, I do the same thing.
Yeah. So I will say, like, definitely going to your look, and you obviously as said you don't like dress like this every day, but have you experienced any sort of homophobia in New York?
Yes,
Being
unfortunately. Yeah, so I've decided that homophobia exists everywhere. Like I've officially decided that because
yeah,
I moved to New York thinking, for some reason, I was like, oh, if I move to New York, it's okay to be queer and gay and LGBTQIA plus, which didn't exist like when I moved here. It's just like
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a safe place, and it is. It totally is. But homophobia is everywhere. It's ingrained in
Yeah.
society of it, and this obvious thing. I just didn't realize it. But yeah, I've experienced it from everything to on the subway train to through friend groups that don't know they're being homophobic, which doesn't make it okay. But but I will say, luckily, I can't say I've been hurt physically. Thank God. I know people that have been that live
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And also for our trans family, like they've experienced things. So, but yeah, the short answer to your question is yes, I've experienced it, unfortunately. And but at the same time, I've been accepted here, and I still am here because I feel totally accepted at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously that's true. I mean, in fact, like, even going back to you being a kid, like, I would say you're probably around the same age that I am. You might be a little bit older, or might be, but at least I know from like my time, like, you would hear people probably up until like the late 2010s saying like the T word on TV and like all this stuff. So it's like we we're well, at least I am. I'm a millennial, so like it's like we grew up in an era where like homophobia was still okay, whereas
Right.
like Gen Z is seeing less of it
Hmm.
than we had to.
Yeah. It's a recent thing that it's it's still not 100% like okay to be queer, but
Yeah,
definitely even the last, like you said, 2009, all these, it's a very recent time that we've been, and even TV, like our TVs have changed, and Netflix has changed like who we see on TV, like RuPaul Drag
exactly.
Race, like, so it's amazing. It's so many good things, but also there's like people pushing back, and so I'm hoping that this new generation, is more open-minded and like accepting, but it's also, I feel that it's just something that people there's always gonna be the struggle,
Yeah,
'cause we're different. But we're fabulous. So
definitely. Yeah,
yes, people
because
need
I
to get
mean,
into
I will
it.
say this: I don't know how tall you are. Like, I'm
Mhm.
6'3". Even if
Oh,
I,
wow.
yeah, even if I like go dressed out like this, like, I'm a big bitch. Ain't nobody gonna be messing with me because like
Wow.
I look like I could beat somebody up. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
I didn't realize you're 6'3". That's amazing.
yeah.
Wow. Cool. I
That's
love
the thing.
it.
When I tell people that, they're so shocked, and I say 6'3", and then depending on which shoes I wear, I can be anywhere from like 6'5" to 6'9". Like,
Oh my God, can I hire you as security? Like, I'm kidding. I was like, why you at my show? He'd be like, okay, nobody come up here on stage. Leave us alone.
no, are you kidding me? Like, I would say this: if you ever were to tour, like, I'd come up to something, but shit, I'd love to tour with you. Like,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like,
Hopefully, yeah.
yeah, because I will say, like, definitely, I am not at the point where like I fear performing in front of audiences. I want to get back into
Mhm.
performing, and I'm hoping within like the next year or so I can be like back out in places, but we'll see. Right now, I'm good doing this podcast, recording videos in my house, like having people say. I will say this.
Mhm.
Probably another question.
Yeah.
You do you try to ignore the negative comments, or you try to like block people who are negative towards you? Because that's honestly what I try and do. Like,
Yeah, I do, and it's like with social media
yeah,
and Instagram, there will be messages like on posts, certain posts, not every post, but there are sometimes people, also on my Facebook page, they'll be like just saying, "Why is there a guy with makeup on?" Or like, "You should go," like, I don't even know. Mainly it's about the makeup, or like, "Why are you in underwear? Like, you should wear some pants. Like, stop dressing like a woman." It's a lot of that, a lot of like, why are you dressing like a woman, and like this is why the generation is effed, because like guys are wearing dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like masculinity things. At first, it did bother me because I was offended. I was like, I feel like I'm being attacked. But I realized that these people don't understand, and they're showing me who they are through their words, and it's sad. It's like, why do you care that I'm wearing a dress? Like, why does that bother you so much? It's like, it shows
Yeah.
how like you're not open-minded. You're so in a closet, and it's like, come out. It's nothing. I'm not hurting you. I'm bringing love. I'm expressing myself, and you should too. So once I put it in that lens, I let it go. And and even if it's not even a like a masculine thing, if it's like some hate on any level, I just am like, that's your opinion. But like, if you have constructive feedback, I always will listen and take it into consideration if you're being constructive and like have a
Yeah.
good intention. But if it's just flat out hate, I just don't have time. And I don't even respond. Like, I don't have the energy to respond and say, why do you think that way? It's just like, okay, just put the words out there and leave it there on you. Like, I don't want to engage.
Yeah. I mean, like, I will say this to the point of like it was only probably like the tail end of 2021 where I'm like, I was a person who's like, oh, I'm not skinny. I'm afraid to wear bodysuits. And I'm like, eventually I just said, like, fuck it. Like,
Yes.
at this point, it's like, we've gone through a pandemic. It's like, because I was under the notion that, like, oh, you have to be a twig, like, that big to wear, like, bodysuits. I'm like, fuck it. And then I see, like, people, I didn't even see, like, I remember one point I posted a cover of the song I Touched Myself, and somebody
Mm.
literally wrote the thing, like, good thing you do because nobody else is going to. And it's like I read that and deleted it, and it's almost like I'm like, this is on YouTube, man. You had to look for my shit to like go and post this, and it's like, first of all, it was from a woman, and I'm like, well, bitch, I don't want it anyway. Like, and then I just had to be at a point to where like I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like now,
Yes.
I will admit, I edit my stuff a little bit, like post it, filter it, all of that when I post on Instagram. But it's like I don't, I don't edit that much, and especially through like as I was talking to you before, talking about how I have like bone spurs on my feet. That's probably one of the greatest things that happened to me because it was like I dropped 40 pounds after that, and it was like,
Oh my God.
and people are like, well, how did you do that? I'm like, it's very simple. It's like you have to go into your head and think, especially when I was working, it's like, is it really worth it for me to get the fucking chips and be like, no, I'm gonna stay in bed and continue to ice my feet. So you just like go through that.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. I love
Yeah.
hearing stuff like that. I mean, I think, you know, number one, you always slay your look. I've seen you on Twitter with your bodysuits. Like, we need you to do that continuously. So, like, people, I just think like when you were in that, have that self-confidence and like, I'm gonna wear whatever, but
Yeah.
also it's okay for me to be like, I want to change this or this. Like, that's okay. And there's
Yeah.
like, don't come for me for being like, I want to eat this way. And, you
Yeah.
know, either way is fine. But like, I love everything you just said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, going to the going to obviously like going into your promotion part, talk as I said
Mhm.
in the beginning, you're going to the Glam Awards on Monday. What are you gonna wear?
Oh my God.
Or
I am going to give you an exclusive for this stream. I have not announced the designer, but I will be announcing it right now. So, Timothy Westbrook is my designer. He is an incredible Brooklyn-based, fashion designer. I went to his studio in December, and he's lending me a whole look. Um, and it's been from the runway. So he had a show. It's a whole moment. I cannot wait to wear it. And yes, there will be red. That's why I got my hair done with my
yeah,
friend Johnny. So there's red in the outfit. which is going to bring it all together.
That is so awesome, because I was wondering if you were at the point, like obviously you said a Brooklyn designer. I was wondering if you got well, but you're an independent artist, so obviously I should know the answer to this. Where it's like you could have someone like say, "I want to make you a look," but
yeah, I
or
mean,
were you like off the rack? Like,
so this is something where he reached out to me and we met on Instagram, and he's so amazing. He's so nice. And he was like, I have all these collections. Come to my, because his studio has all his collections, like all his previous collections. And he literally, I could hand pick whatever I wanted. So I just tried on like clothes after clothes. He's like, here you go. This looks amazing. And we like art directed the look with different looks from different collections. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously with anything, the more you do it, the more people that see you, the more opportunities. So I think I'm at that point where people are starting to see me and seeing that I perform, and I have a new look every time. I know I have nothing wrong with repeating looks, and I do repeat looks, but I also like giving, just like with the wigs, like I like to transform and give a whole new thing every time. So with this, I was like, I want something unique for this event.
yeah,
And he's just lending it, so it's not like I'm buying it. So
yeah,
I have to return it. I can't F it up. Like, please, no one spill shit on me. Like
yeah,
this, I will be gone. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm meeting other artists as well. I have to still keep it surprised, but I'm working with another amazing designer for my upcoming show on February 11th. So that will be another couture piece that he made for his collection that I'm going to wear just for that one night. So I'm trying to do more of these collaborations, because I also like love wearing other people's art. So
yeah.
like I can make stuff, which I do make my own stuff, and I find stuff at thrift stores, but I also am starting to really embrace other artists and collaborate. So to wear their art and to show that into the world, and then people to see it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing more of. Yeah, I love
Well,
it.
I will say this: if you do get into
If you
wigs,
do
like
get it,
definitely, all you got to do is change your hair. It's a new look. Like that's how I
Yeah,
look
I
at it.
love it.
Like
Yeah.
I repeat bodysuits all the time. It's like
Oh,
I'll probably wear this with another wig, and it's like a few months down the road, and it's like, well, now it's a new look, it's new hair. Like,
right,
because
right,
I'm at the point I don't know how to design things. Like,
right.
I'm not at that point yet, so it's like I have to go on eBay and buy stuff, get it. Hope I hope I've been eating good that week and like it fits.
Right.
Because I will say this, like I did probably I will say this exclusively to you. And if you go on the YouTube video of this, I was recording covers last week, and literally I was all like in the bodysuit, and it was one I hadn't worn that often. It was like
Mm.
I was performing, I was doing like Genie a bottle, and then all of a sudden my bodysuit just came open. So like luckily I knew like I had that professional thing of, okay, just calm down, bitch. Just don't move towards the back so people can clearly see that it's open. Like pause, run off camera, and continue. It was weird. It was like my bodysuits, I have like two different kinds. I have ones that are like zip bodysuits where I like get in it and zip up. I like those more. And then I have like snap crotch ones. So it's
Right.
like that's what this is. And like
Oh,
I was like crossing my fingers today. I'm like, please fit. And apparently I've been doing a good job because it fit fine. Nothing snapped. I'm all good.
great. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. So anyway, have I gone over everything? Think. Well, okay, fine. I will. Then let's just go into. So you said on February 11th you're going to be wearing a custom look. Are you ever afraid, or wearing a look of a designer? Are you ever afraid to like after you meet the audience, like going up, meeting people, like saying hi, and then like having something go wrong, like them spill something on you, or like
So before a set, I don't always because a lot of the shows I perform, I'm like in the crowd and it's like part of a party.
Yeah,
So that you have no control over. But then some are on stage with like actual lighting and
yeah,
microphone and so it depends. But personally, if I know I'm performing, obviously I don't want to be sweaty. I don't want to have lipstick all over me. So sometimes people when they see you, they like want to kiss you. Like I've had people
yeah,
like be like, "Oh my god, you look beautiful!" Like, "Oh my god," and they
yeah,
come and hug, and then like they want to like some people have lipstick on and they want to kiss you, and I'm just like, okay, don't touch the face. Like this is a lot of
yeah,
time. Um, in terms of the look, I mean, people sometimes. Oh my god, actually, funny story. So my look, luckily, it was not a designer that was
yeah,
given to me, but it was a look that I made and I spent time finding because I went to a thrift store. Somebody tagged me graffiti. It was a graffiti party. They
yeah,
literally, when I wasn't looking, graffitied their name on my boot. Like I had a knee-high boot. Yeah. And they tagged me,
yeah,
like put their signature in graffiti style on my whole leg. Did it look amazing? Yes. But I would have liked to have known. And
yeah,
also, it's now stuck. So now on these two boots, I have someone's name like tagged. So like,
yeah.
yes,
So like you're at that point where it's like you have either you like keep the boots or you throw them out
right.
and order new ones, which I know they're not cheap. Like
Oh, it's like knee highs. I was not happy, but like I said, luckily they weren't, someone else. If there was a designer, I would be screwed because I would
yeah,
have to pay hundreds of dollars,
yeah.
like to keep it, basically.
Like I get that. I actually have like two quick stories. So literally one time I lived in Orlando before I moved back here. So like I
Mm.
was performing in Orlando and like I think at this point I was visiting and it was like I had someone like I know how I perform. Like I don't duct tape my wigs. Like I know not to move my head too much because it's literally just on my head with a wig cap. I literally had somebody who was like drunk just like come grab my wig and like pull it off. And I'm like, and it's like, I will admit, I'm not a violent person. That's probably the only time where I've wanted to like take off my shoe and beat him over the head with it. Cause it's like, now you're sitting there. I literally had to look in a window, like get my wig like properly like placed back to where I had done it. And
Wow, that is messed up.
yeah,
People watching this, never pull a wig. Don't
yeah.
pull anyone's hair for that reason. It's not okay. It's not cute. And why would you do that? It's just so rude.
And it was like, so that was the only time of like hair or anything like that. There was one time I accidentally like stepped in like I was not at home. I was in West Palm Beach. I was staying in a hotel after I performed. I was like getting ready to like go into a hotel and like I stepped in dog shit. So I literally had to like throw out my boots and order new ones when I got home because I'm like I
Oh,
obviously I'm traveling. I can't like I can't do anything about these boots now. I can't take them home. It's going to affect all my clothes that are in my suitcase.
oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, that's crazy. Hmm.
But it's like that was probably the craziest night when people say like how I tell people stories, and I know we're almost gonna get done here, but I will say the longest I've been in drag, like not being able to go to the bathroom or anything, it was like 8 hours, and
Wow.
it's like at that point, it was during Pride, like, and I had someone like in my area being like, "Are you staying at the bar?" I'm like, and it was getting close to like 10:30 at night. I had been in drag probably since like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like, and I'm like, no, bitch, I had to go home. Like, I have to unzip, get undressed, and go to the bathroom. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, I
which,
didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like I wasn't tucked or anything because that's one thing I don't do. Because like I hear people, I see people, and it's like, to me, it sounds painful. I know somebody at some point, if I ever get on like RuPaul's Drag Race, is gonna read me for not doing that. But I'm like, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I can never. I mean, I don't know. I've never tried. Maybe I should try one day, but it seems like a lot. And to your point about the bathroom, it's like if you, I mean, I know there's an art to it, but like, yeah, I would be worried about like using the restroom. Although, if you know, like you said, because I've had costumes too that they're like a bodysuit, and I'm like, there's no way this is. I can't, like, for me to go to the bathroom and take this. I have to take off
You
the
have to
whole
take the whole thing
bodysuit.
off.
Yeah, so I mean, that's hard enough, but like then to be tucked on top of that, it's like, wow.
As I said, that night I told you about with the shoes, that was the first time I had been in drag a long time. And that was at that point 6 hours. That was the longest I had been in drag to that date. So I remember like rushing into my hotel room, like getting completely undressed and like just going to the bathroom. It was like,
right.
Because it's like the secret is, as I've told people, it's like you gotta know. Like if you space out drinking and all that and like how you eat food, you can manage, but you don't want to. You're probably one of the people who's like, if you're in a bodysuit, you're like, I'm just not gonna eat. Like,
you mean like before the set?
Yeah.
Or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually eat. I make, just for my voice's sake, I do eat like spaghetti, like a vegetarian spaghetti, like before. But like for the Glam Awards, for example, I'm definitely been watching what I'm eating for the last week, and I've been working out like since December because I'm like, I need to make it just designer. It has to fit. But yeah, I mean, but that's just my personal. I'm okay with that because I'm like, I enjoy. I still eat. It's just a matter. I'm not starving myself, but it's like, okay, I have to second guess things because I'm like, I'm gonna be in a freaking cat suit in front of all these people. Like, do I really need that ice cream and hamburger right now?
No,
Like,
and that's the thing. Like, once I get off with you, get everything, I'll take everything off. I'll order food to come from like Sonic, and I'll eat like a bunch of stuff because I've been up since around like 6:45 this morning, and like all that I've had is like either soda or iced tea. So it's like I need to eat.
Yeah. No, please, everyone eat. Eating's healthy.
But you do gotta think about that. Just like you gotta think like I'm on camera, like especially you'll see. But luckily, as some people say, like when they say, "Oh, you edit your photos," it's like, bitch, who wouldn't? Like
everyone does it.
Yeah, I love even one of my drag queen friends. She like says like, I don't edit any of my photos. I'm like, well, bitch, that's because you look like you may think you look good. I know what my body looks like. I need to know what little tiny things I gotta change.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I gotta close this up because I'm realizing it's 10:30.
Oh my god! Wow. So fast.
That's why I did ask you, like, if we wanted to go longer, because
thank you.
I know I can talk a lot.
No, it's good. This is so much fun. I've learned so much about you, and I love this conversation.
Yeah, and I will say I'll definitely probably like maybe even like a little bit later, like reach back out to you again because it's like I'd love to do this again.
Yeah, we should again for sure.
Yeah,
this is great.
So anyway, with that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond. I have been here with Benjy Bradshaw. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I hope all of you out there have enjoyed.
Yes.
Okay. So, and